about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Doc-Dali, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So I understand this weekend was pretty hectic for a lot of you. Thank you for your emails and reaching out. For those of you who are not federal workers, there was a little bit of drama, I'm sure you all heard, where the Office of Personnel Management, under the instruction or the idea from Elon Musk, sent an email to originally only some federal workers. Now, mind you, there's about 3 million federal workers currently working for the federal government. The U.S. government is one of the largest employers in the country. And they sent an email out, and then finally everybody else got it, saying you need to tell us what you did in this last week. 5 bullets, points. Hey, don't send classified information. If you do not respond to this email by Monday midnight Eastern Standard Time or 11:59 Standard Time, you will have effectively resigned. Now, this scared a lot of people because they're like, are we getting scammed by China or another country? You are asking us to reveal what we're doing in terms of government work. Who did this come? Now, it did come from a government email, and it was legit because Elon Musk confirmed it online. But even though the legitimacy has been established, I mean, somebody could say Elon Musk's account was hacked. Many government agencies like the FBI, the Department of Defense, the State Department said, no, don't be responding to this email. So basically, the email was not very business-like, government-looking, bureaucratic. It was pretty short. Please reply to this email with approximately 5 bullets of what you accomplished last week and CC your manager. Please do not send any classified information, links, or attachments. Deadline is this Monday at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, I see both sides. When you work in private industry, this happens fairly often. Some poop is rolling downhill. So a manager or somebody ahead of you, in charge of you, will run into your office saying, look, I need to know what you're working on because I need to show my department head. And so you have to write down what it is you're accomplishing, what it is you're doing. You need to turn off your solitaire. You need to shut off your phone, hide your Candy Crush, exit out of your apps, and then list what you did. That's very common in private industry. That's very common. What makes this awkward is you have government agencies disagreeing with Elon Musk, who is saying he's under direct orders from Trump to do this. You're looking at 3 million emails. Who is reading these 3 million emails? Is this a hack from another country? Now, Elon Musk clarified. He went on Twitter to clarify that, one, this is a very common thing done in private industry. Number two is he believes that there are people employed that aren't alive, or that there are paychecks going to individuals who don't necessarily work for the U.S. government. And so somebody non-responding to that email helps filter out those individuals who may not actually be active workers who are still somehow getting paid. Remember, what has been driving this is the waste, fraud, and abuse. The other thing Elon Musk had said is there's a lot of workers that don't even check their email. I found that fascinating. I've worked for places where I'm always checking my emails. I could get my emails on my phone. And when I heard that there were some coworkers of mine that do not read their emails, I'm like, but you're on the clock. And so I see both sides of this. However, this is not a good look. There are now 3 million employees who are under the threat from the Office of Personnel Management that they will be fired or laid off if they don't respond to an email. And you have department heads going, don't answer that. Don't answer it. So, if Elon Musk is actually reading these, I would recommend for your 5 bulleted points. One is that you have a Twitter or X account. Number 2, that you clicked subscribe and like to anything Elon Musk does. I'm sure if that's in one of your bullet point, that's good. Number 3, you could say that you online shopped for a Tesla. That might please him if he's the one literally looking at all these. 4, you ignored all media about his new baby mama, because that's been going around a lot in the news. And then number 5, that you didn't do this remotely, that you are actually looking up your Teslas and logging on to Twitter and following his X tweets while you are at work on site. Now, I would think those 5 bullets would guarantee you a job under Elon Musk's eyes. But if we're really having 3 million individuals send an email, is there an AI bot? Is there an algorithm? And then if you do want to save your job, what do you write? Well, one, you want to ensure that they know you're not remotely, that you are on site. 2, maybe in those 5 bullets, make it look like you're actually doing something that is mission critical or critical for the government or critical for whatever is currently this government's agenda. We're working on national security. I can't go into details because it's classified, but, I did it on site. I have been on site collaborating with my coworkers on environmental protections that, could include, I don't know, X, Y, and Z. You can't write things that are classified or secretive, but you need to show that you're actually working, which is why this is causing a lot of anxiety among individuals. Again, you really might want to throw on there that you follow Elon Musk on X. I just think that's going to please him. But this is chaotic. It's not a good look. It's not good when you have department heads disagree with Elon Musk and Trump, and Trump needs to come in and figure out what to do. And I get they want to know which workers are not working and are getting paychecks when they aren't even a part of the government. I get that. But is this the best way? 1-877-Doc-Daliah. Don't go away.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by right now to answer your questions for free. They'll tell you if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-710-5100. I'm here with spokesman John Wolf. So, John, tell our listeners who should call right now.
Well, Maria, first off, thank you for having me join you to answer the listeners' questions. Now, as far as who should call in, anyone who's been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, give us a call right now and find out how much your case is potentially worth. Call 800-710-5100.
Thanks, John. You heard it, folks. If you think you deserve compensation, call now to find out how much you qualify for. 800-710-5100.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
The cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to totalwellness.com. Supplements made for physicians only now available to you too. Totalwellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer. And big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on X or Twitter at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. By the way, if you ever miss any of our shows, go to drdaliah.com. So let's save you guys some money. Many of you are now filing your taxes, and there are medical tax deductions. I talk about these every year that a lot of you might not realize can actually save you money and put money back into your pocket. We understand that medical expenses are extremely high. And for those of you who have been paying $1,500 a month for Ozempic or Wegovy or Mounjaro or Zepbound, you might actually qualify. So how do you know if you are going to be able to write off some of your medical expenses? And you will be blown away at all the different things that can add up to this. Well, they look at your AGI, your adjusted gross income. And so anything you spend above 7.5% of your AGI can be deducted. So let's say you make $100,000 a year. 7.5% is $7,500. What the IRS says, and I've written this down, so go to my Twitter or Facebook and you could take a look at this in detail. I've also linked the publication 502, which talks about your medical deductions. So if you make $100,000 a year, and you have spent over $7,500 in medical expenses, anything over that is deductible. So let's say you've been spending $1,000 a month on your weight loss shot. Okay. Now, I cosmetic type stuff might not be deductible, but prescriptions are. And so let's say you've spent $12,000. And you make $100,000 a year. Well, that's $4,500 above that 7.5%. $4,500 can be deduct or is the amount that could qualify for deductions. So you see, there's a lot of you might already qualify, and you should listen up. So publication 502. Is it gets updated every year. We'll break down what you can write off and what you can't. And so tax deductible items, and there's a whole bunch of them. Okay, I'm just going to list some of them. All right. According to publication 502. By the way, what also counts is if you're taking care of a dependent. So if there's somebody you're taking care of, their medical expenses also you could write off if you are their sole provider. So you really want to have somebody, an accountant or CPA, or read this publication 502 thoroughly to see if you qualify, because there's a lot of medical, if you adopted a child, if you have a qualifying child under the age of 19 or under the age of 24 who's a full-time student, somebody living with you for more than half of 2024, these are individuals where if they have medical costs, you could add to that. So things that you can write off, if you did have an abortion that was a legal abortion, you could write off those medical expenses. Acupuncture. If you were treated for alcoholism, if you needed an ambulance, if you had an annual physical exam, if you have an artificial limb, artificial teeth, if you needed bandages, you had burn care and you had to go to Walmart and buy bandages, save all those receipts. Your bandages, your at-home care stuff could be written off. Birth control pills, any scans of your body, if you're blind and needed Braille, those. If you breastfeed and needed to buy breast pumps or breast supplies, those count. If you needed breast reconstruction surgery, not cosmetic surgery, but breast reconstructive surgery because of cancer, that could be counted. Capital expenses, improvements around the house. We'll go over these a little bit later. But wow, if you had to add an incline or a ramp, or you had to redo your shower so that you had bars, if you had to lower counters or make things in your house or even car more disabled friendly, those things are all tax deductible, according to publication 502. If you saw a chiropractor, If you saw a Christian Science practitioner, condoms. Condoms are $1 a pop. If you bought condoms, I hope you saved the receipts. Contact lenses, crutches, dental treatment. There are certain dental x-rays, dentures, extractions, certain things that can be written off. Certain diagnostic devices, such as your blood glucose monitor. If you had fertility enhancement, eye surgery, eyeglasses, eye exam, if you were treated for drug addiction, if you needed a guide dog and a stress relief animal, the expenses to take care of that animal are also tax deductible. You see how it's all adding up? There's a very good chance many of you are completely over your 7.5% AGI on this. Hearing aids, hospital services, insurance premiums. Some of your insurance premiums. You can't include medical expenses, insurance premiums that were paid, but they do say that insurance premiums may be tax deductible. That's pretty big. Personal protective equipment, lab fees. You cannot include life insurance policies, policies for loss of earnings, policies that are for disability, from what I understand. But some insurance, like your regular health insurance, can be paid or deducted. Lead-based paint removal. If you're getting rid of all the lead in your house, that could also. Certain legal fees. I am sure with legal fees, you guys have extended beyond what you earned. This is a biggie. Let's say you had to go to Mayo Clinic or you had to go to UCLA for medical care, and you had to travel there. The travel, the hotel, the food, all that is also tax deductible. Your mileage. Now, this is a biggie. Every time you go to the doctor or the physical therapist or the dentist, and I believe also the pharmacy, you could write off mileage. Now, it was 22 cents a mile. They knocked that down to 21 cents a mile. But all the mileage that you use to go to your medical provider is tax deductible. So these are things you need to be aware of. Oxygen, etc. Let's talk about what might not be covered. Although really quickly, your vasectomy can be covered, certain weight loss programs, wheelchair wigs, x-ray, etc. So what aren't included? Babysitting, childcare, that might be something different. There might be a different tax credit, but if you had to hire a babysitter or a diaper service, these are things that would not be covered. Controlled substances. If you are buying marijuana or narcotics, narcotics might be covered, the legal ones, but since marijuana is not technically a legal substance, all your edibles might not be tax deductible. Cosmetic surgery, not tax deductible. Your gym membership, if you got electrolysis for hair removal, which I need, they don't count that. Funeral expenses, health savings accounts, dancing lessons, household help. This is interesting. A home health nurse should be covered under nursing services, but if you have somebody that comes in to clean your house, those things technically are not supposed to be tax deductible. If you had an illegal operation or treatment, like you had somebody who wasn't a physician do your liposuction, not covered. Personal use items. This is a little tricky because there's been a big push that you could write off toilet paper and tampons. Double check, because some personal use items like deodorant, things like that, might not be tax deductible. Surrogacy expenses, apparently you cannot write those off. So if you're paying somebody to have your baby and surrogate your baby, you cannot write that off. Maternity clothes. You cannot write off maternity clothes. You cannot write off teeth whitening. You cannot write off swimming lessons. Your non-prescription drugs and medicines, with the exception of insulin, apparently you cannot write off your Midol or your Tylenol, which is odd. If it was a prescription, you could. So you might want to talk to your medical provider about that. So this is just a quick summary. I urge you to go to publication 502. As you guys are getting your taxes ready, if you haven't already, look at these things and see if this is something that you want to include. But 7.5% of your adjusted gross income, you see how very quickly all this stuff can add up. The 1877 Doc Daliah, don't go away. Hi guys, Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms. Whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping, addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1877 Dr. Daliah, 1877 DOCDALI. So I know many people are kind of concerned about this measles outbreak, where measles was never officially eliminated. We were close, and our vaccine protocol or our vaccine program did amazing in terms of assisting with this. However, the things have kind of changed, and whether it's the virus, whether it's the attitudes towards vaccines, or whether it's that we have more individuals from countries that aren't vaccinated that are coming in and possibly bringing measles with them, we need to kind of get a better idea of what's going on. So there has been 99, from what we understand, cases now reported out of Texas and New Mexico. And health authorities are obviously really concerned. Now, what I think of is with Texas and New Mexico, they're near the border. And we need some clarity on who is infected, what their vaccination status is. We're hearing that the majority of these individuals are unvaccinated. Well, then I am very fascinated by the number of individuals who are vaccinated that are getting measles. Nobody is saying 100% of these new measles cases are in unvaccinated. They're saying the majority. So what is the minority number? Is the majority 51% or is the majority 99%? Because we are vaccinating kids for measles, and appropriately so, and we need to know if this vaccine is adequate. We need to know if the strain has changed. We need to figure out what could be going on. And so as a physician and, as a proponent of public health and public health done correctly, you always need to ask the questions and be able to get the answers. And I understand that there's a lot of hush-hush and shadow banning and still censorship when a doctor or a parent asks the questions, can somebody please tell us what's going on? And the narrative is these are people that are unvaccinated. Are all of them unvaccinated? Are they all Americans? Are they people that have come into this country that weren't vaccinated in their country? One doctor had suggested that if back in the Ellis Island times, you couldn't come in to America if you weren't sick, where individuals should not be coming in to America if they aren't vaccinated, i.e. COVID vaccine, etc. Where why are we mandating the COVID vaccine in Americans, but we're not mandating the COVID vaccine in individuals coming across the border? And I'm mixed on that because I don't want anything mandated per se. I think it should be patient choice. But they do make an interesting point. It's just, how do we do that? Are they vaccinated for hepatitis? Are they vaccinated for tetanus? Are they vaccinated for polio? Are they vaccinated for varicella? Are they vaccinated for pneumonia, meningitis, COVID, measles, mumps, rubella? We give a lot of vaccines in America. Other countries give a lot of vaccines too. In fact, I think in Mexico and the Philippines, they also get the tuberculosis vaccine because tuberculosis is more endemic in those areas. But I don't think most of the individuals coming across the border are as up to date on their vaccines. And so when you hear public officials kind of talk about that, the pros and cons to it, the pros are, well, individuals are coming across the border that could be carrying an illness and giving it to others. So we want to make sure they're coming across safe. Another argument is we don't want them having illness that drains our hospital system and our medical infrastructure or medical finances, because if they're going to need to be on the government dime for health care, and then we want to ensure that they're not going to get sick. But I think the problem has taken a completely different turn now that we have gotaways. Now that we have had millions of people that have come across the border, we don't know what their vaccination status is. And somebody could say, but Dr. Daliah, you could test them. You could test them to see if they've had varicella antibodies. You could test them for me. You can't test for everything, but that's pretty expensive. And so what is the process going to be across the border for people coming across the border for us to ensure that they were vaccinated, that they aren't going to spread illness? And then if that's the case, what do we do then with tourists? If you remember, there was a measles outbreak that they believe started in Disneyland from international tourists. And there were individuals who were both vaccinated and unvaccinated that came down with measles. Now, one of you had asked at the time, how does somebody who's vaccinated still get measles? Or what could have been what could have happened? Well, most of the vaccines that are out there are not necessarily one and done. You need boosters. So one theory is somebody didn't get their full boosters. Another theory is these vaccines are not always 100%. I've seen individuals still get chickenpox. I've seen individuals still get flu, still get COVID despite vaccination. So sometimes these vaccinations are not 100%. We've all kind of learned that. Another is you've had some individuals who will lie on their card. Now it's harder to lie because it's not a paper card. I remember somebody stole a bunch of my vaccine cards from my office. And that was at a time when we had cards. I don't know if it was a staff member. I don't know if it was a patient, because those were kind of under lock and key. But many individuals who have paper documentation, they might play around with that. And so that could be another issue. Now, in America, they use an electronic system. So it's harder for people to say they were vaccinated when they weren't. But not everything is 100%. And then on top of that, you might have a virus that's changing. The first person who suggested that our pertussis vaccines might not be doing the job they need spurned this now movement to get a booster for your pertussis. Why? Because somebody asked the question. We have freedom of speech. We're supposed to have freedom of speech. We're supposed to be asking the questions and challenging what might be the narrative and go, maybe there might be something else we're not thinking of. So now that we keep seeing measles resurge, is it that it's only in individuals who are unvaccinated? Or if vaccinated individuals are getting measles, do we need to update the vaccine? Do people need a booster? It's a valid question that's not getting answered. I have very high hopes that RFK Jr. will publish the numbers of unvaccinated versus vaccinated individuals still getting disease so that we could look at, do we need to make the vaccines better, or is there another strain, or is there another reason for this? And so what's also kind of compounding some of the challenges is many individuals are not going to a medical provider anymore to get an official diagnosis. They're going online. And they're telling the doctor, yeah, so I think I have flu, so just treat me for flu. And that number that doesn't get documented because it was never confirmed. We never swabbed you. Yeah, I have a rash. I think it's a virus. I need a note off work. Okay, here's your work note. But is anybody getting them tested for measles? So I think, one, this number is underestimated. Number two is I think this number, from what we're being told, is in both populations of vaccinated and unvaccinated. So we need to know the numbers. Number three is I think a lot of this could be contributed to what's happening across the border and what had happened during the Biden administration. So we might need to look at what we're doing in terms of infectious disease coming across the border. Didn't Alejandro Mayorkas say that 1 in 5 migrants have a communicable disease? Whether it was cholera, hepatitis, HIV, tuberculosis. Well, if 20% of migrants, and we had millions come across, what are we doing from a public health standpoint? So these are things we really need to investigate. 1-877 Doc Dali.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by right now. They'll tell you if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-910-7500. That's 800-910-7500. Call now to find out how much your case could be worth.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to totalwellness.com. Supplements made for physicians, only now available to you too. totalwellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
Self-reliance. It's not a phrase we hear much in our culture these days. It might conjure up images of pioneers, the West, rifles, strapping men, and strong women. But what does it mean for us in today's world? The New American Magazine has just released its latest collector's edition, Self-Reliance, Foundation of Freedom. In it, the New American authors outline the necessity of self-reliance for a free people, tips for self-reliant living, and the importance of not giving up hope. This unique edition includes articles on the self-sufficiency of the founders, preparing for a worst-case scenario, firearms, financial self-reliance, the importance of community, and many other topics by expert writers. Now, for a limited time, the New American is offering a bundle of 3 collector's editions, Self-Reliance, The Great Reset, and Trump World, for just $19.95. Available at shopjbs.org. Visit shopjbs.org today.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Doc Dali, 1-877 DOCDALI. So I was a goody two shoes in school. I didn't smoke. I didn't vape. Well, we didn't have vaping in my high school. And in my high school, we had bubble yum and smoking in the boys' room, that kind of stuff. We didn't have vaping, but I was a good girl. I didn't want to smoke. I remember my grandfather was on his deathbed and he made me promise not to smoke because one of our family members was a heavy smoker. And so he was really, really worried that, I would follow, in their footsteps. And I just didn't want to mess with my lungs. I loved my lungs. I loved running. It just scared me. And yeah, I was a goody two shoes. Okay. Did I like an occasional Zima? Yeah. I liked Zima. Although Zima came out in the 90s. I like Seagram's wine coolers, but nah, I didn't smoke. Well, e-cigs have risen. E-cigs have become very, very popular in the last 2 decades. And as a physician, I was very hesitant on recommending that for patients because, one, I didn't trust them. You're still putting something into your lungs that you shouldn't. 2, I didn't know what the hell the chemicals were, especially some that have watermelon flavor and things like that. I know they start to get rid of the flavors, but still, at the time, that scared me. And 3, when somebody was trying to get off smoking, sorry, my nose is running, their concern as it pertained to their addiction to smoking was an addiction also to nicotine. So when somebody smokes cigarettes, not only are we worried about the tar and all the chemicals and other things that they're breathing in, but we're also worried about the nicotine addiction. So now you're swapping one mechanism of nicotine for another mechanism with nicotine. I wasn't sold. And when people said, but look, I failed on the patch, I failed on Chantix. Chantix is like a nicotine agonist. It's like a decoy. It tricks the brain into thinking you're still getting your nicotine, and so you take it when you 7 days. You build it up into your system 7 days before you quit smoking, so that when you do quit smoking, your body is less likely to withdraw. Although a lot of people just still smoke while taking the Chantix, so it doesn't end up working as well. But if you do take it right, it works well. But when patients told me they weren't successful on these other modalities, that they wanted to try vaping, all I could say is I don't know much about it. And I'm a little nervous because we need to get you off the nicotine. In theory, if you are minimizing and decreasing daily the amount of nicotine, you would think you could get somebody off smoking by using these. But instead, it just turned into an absolutely vaping epidemic. And now kids who would have never smoked are now vaping. So we have another study that is looking at the health effects, which of course are serious. They include heart disease and lung disease, etc. But this new study comes out of Manchester Metropolitan University. And this is a concern. And interestingly, much of the data is starting to suggest that e-cigs are as bad as cigarettes. This study is saying e-cigs could be worse than cigarettes. All right, that's starting to really change the narrative on this. So according to Dr. Maxine Boyden, at the beginning of the study, they believe that vaping was more beneficial than smoking. All right. Dr. Maxime said, you see a lot more people vaping these days because they don't think it's too bad. Many will be horrified to know the truth. The study has been underway since 2023, according to New York Post, projected to wrap up in March, but they're already sharing some of the results that he's seen. And so they're looking at organ failure, heart disease, brain issues like dementia. We are talking about young people. They said in this study, we looked at a group of young people with no apparent signs of lung damage. Among the people who had been vaping or smoking for at least 2 years, we saw important differences in how well they coped with exercise. The smokers and the vapors had measurably excess breathing while using the exercise bikes. They found it harder to breathe, their muscles became more fatigued, and they were less fit overall. In this regard, research indicated that vaping is no better than smoking. But they found that people who vaped had damaged artery walls, which wouldn't dilate during a stress test, which could also indicate that they could have lack of cardiac vessel compliance and issues relating to cardiovascular disease later in life. And they noticed that smokers tend to go outside and smoke. Once a cigarette is finished, they have to light another one to keep going. But with vaping, you just keep going. And it's much harder to know how many puffs you've had. It's much easier to vape continuously because you could do it in places where smoking might be less acceptable. So they are concerned that that could put somebody at a higher risk. And they're making a point with a cigarette, it burns eventually off. You have to put it out. Yes, you could get another one, but that takes an extra action. Now, with a vape pen, you do have to reload the cartridge, but some of these vape pens last longer than a pack of cigarettes. So, depending on what you're smoking. So, they make a point that vapors might be actually taking in more nicotine, maybe actually hurting their lungs more than cigarette smokers, which is why I'm of the mindset, don't be doing any of that. Just stop it all. And it's really been frustrating to see kids who probably would have never picked up a cigarette are now addicted to vaping. And I have seen it across Gen Z, across millennials, now Generation Alpha. The Generation Betas are being born as we speak right now. And unless somebody does something about this, this is a huge public health threat. Already the American Heart Association has said it's a huge public health threat. We've talked about the dangers of vaping as it pertains to heart, stroke, lungs, and also you're getting toxins. When the coil is heating up and it's dripping from the metal, you're getting some of those toxins. The flavorings are never designed, food flavorings are not designed to be in the lungs. They're designed to be in the gullet. And even some of those food flavorings are now being looked at as maybe they're hazardous. And you're putting that crap into your lungs. And then on top of that, you forget that heat causes chemical reactions and can create different products. So if you are having a heating element that is taking something that might have been tested at room temperature, and now you're heating it up to the nth degree, what other chemicals are being made? Formaldehyde and other issues. So vaping is bad. It's bad, bad, bad. I never ascribe to vaping being safer than smoking. It's all bad. And I understand we're very orally fixated. We all need to put something in our mouth. And that's why people who quit smoking or quit vaping start gaining weight. Because rather than eating, they would vape or smoke. And now they need to put something else in their mouth. We need to change how we do this. Because when you look at these videos of people in the 1960s and back, we didn't have the obesity issue that we do now. And I get part of our obesity issue is we've laid off smoking, but people are turning to vaping to get their weight down or to get their nicotine high or because they're bored or because that's the new thing. We got to stop that. And we need to teach kids how bad this is. Now, what would work back in the 80s and 90s is showing a child what black lung or tarry lung looks like. When you see a lung that is completely blackened with the crap from cigarette smokes, that might hit home. What do we have of a vaped lung? As far as I'm concerned, for me, a big sell was I want to run. I want to still have my endurance. I loved running when I was younger. I still do like running. It's a little harder to do with the movies, but I loved running. And I would have to double sports broad, but I ran. A lot of younger individuals aren't as much into physical fitness. So when you tell them you don't have your stamina at the gym, they're like, I don't go to the gym. That's a problem. 1-877 Doc Daliah.
Did you know that healthy arteries make a gas? Yes, actually 3 known gases. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch, and nitric oxide is a gas that's readily made all day long to keep our arteries open by relaxing the blood vessel walls. By doing this, our circulation is increased, bringing blood, oxygen, and nutrients to every part of your body. Both age and poor diet can lead to a loss of this precious gas, and in turn, blood pressure can go up, energy can go down, and you can get tingling in your hands and feet. Well, our product, Ultimate Nitric Oxide, can easily help fix this lack of nitric oxide. Go to TotalWellness.com. That's TotalWellness.com, where we are helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.